Hello everyone and a warm welcome to Byakhya, our independent journalism initiative to help you guys make perfect sense of the complex business and economic environment of the country. I'm your host John Manandar, and starting from today, I'll be presenting the weekly economic highlights of the country with our own analytical twist. So stay tuned. Was the government's ban on the import of 10 luxury items justified or just a knee-jerk reaction? Is a fertilizer crisis imminent? If yes, what does it mean for the food and economic security of the agricultural economy of Nepal? Is palm oil, the largest export commodity of Nepal, on the verge of collapse? And finally, how will the construction holiday launched by contractors or thickdarts dampen the economic recovery of the nation? These are the topics we'll be covering in today's video. I'm sure that the April 26 notice issued by the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies banning the import of 10 luxury items ranging from cars and mobiles to liquor and cigarettes to snacks till the end of the fiscal year ending mid-July is still fresh in your mind. While the government has stated that the ban was necessary to preserve the dwindling foreign reserves of the country, the ban itself has generated mixed reactions. Most traders are of the opinion that the ban hasn't ruffled any feathers right now because they have enough inventory to last for a month. However, this is all set to change come June when inventory runs out. Traders have warned of a potential shortage and subsequently a flood of illegal imports or contraband from our southern neighbor India, with whom Nepal shares an open border. Consumer rights activists, on the other hand, seems to be divided in their opinions. Consumer Rights Investigation Forum has lauded the ban, stating that it will help minimize the trade deficit of the country but also not impact the market, considering the banned goods are non-essential in nature. However, it has urged the government to ensure effective market monitoring to control possible attempts at market distortion. Unlike its counterpart, the National Consumer Forum has strongly criticized the ban, stating that it is a knee-jerk reaction from the government at a time when there are only 2 months left before the end of the fiscal year. It has even questioned the logical basis of the ban, as snacks like Lay's and Kurkure have been banned but not sugar confectionery, with much higher import value. Some economists have also termed the ban short-sightedness of the government that has not focused on strengthening local production but has given undue emphasis to banning imports. They believe the ban will not only be ineffective but also dent the government's already low revenue collection. The private sector is equally unimpressed with the ban, stating that it will result in uncertainty among the business community. Private sector bodies have stated that instead of the ban, a better option would be to increase the import duty. They have also pointed out that as the foreign exchange reserves are sufficient to cover imports for 6.7 months, the ban wasn't all that necessary. Rather than the ban itself, apex private sector bodies seem to be particularly displeased with the unilateral decision taken by the government without consulting them. In any case, the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies has defended its move, stating that considering its potential impact on the economy, the ban is only placed as a stopgap measure to improve the current situation and that it won't be held in place for far too long. What do you think? Considering the depleting foreign reserves, was the ban justified? Or was it just a knee-jerk reaction from the government that is increasingly fearful of an economic situation of the country taking a turn for the worse like Sri Lanka? Now for some good news. According to meteorologists from South Asia, Nepal is likely to receive above normal monsoon rain this year. This is indeed good news for the Nepalese economy because a bountiful rainfall will not only help replenish groundwater for drinking and reservoirs for power generation, but most importantly, it will water 2/3 of Nepal's farmlands that are rain dependent for irrigation. But the good news ends here. Nepal may not be able to reap the benefits of the rainfall because of the imminent crunch of the most vital input commodity for agriculture, and that is chemical fertilizers. The planting season for paddy, the most important crop that contributes more than 7% to the GDP of the nation, is next month in June. But chemical fertilizer stock in two state suppliers, Salt Trading Corporation and Agriculture Inputs Company, are almost exhausted. During the paddy planting season, Nepal will require 210,000 tons of chemical fertilizers, but so far, Salt Trading has only been able to secure 42,000 tons. which will start entering the country only after 20 days, that too if only things go as planned. Even the fertilizers are supposedly on the way, it just might be just too little too late. It is estimated that it will take Agriculture Inputs Company at least 4 months to import 50,000 tons of chemical fertilizers meant for June, due to a technical error that the company made in the import documentation process. Also, the government-to-government deal to import 150,000 tons of chemical fertilizers from India is a work in progress and will arrive only by the end of May. Again, if only things go well. Fertilizer play a significant role in boosting agricultural productivity, and hence a shortage of such a vital agricultural input will decrease the crop yields of the farmers. A decrease in crop yields would translate to a reduction in the supply of agricultural goods, causing a shortage and compelling the country to cover the lacuna through imports. It will not only drive up food prices, making them less affordable to the consumers, but will also compromise the income of farmers that comprise almost 2/3 of the population. Therefore, it isn't difficult to see how the shortage of chemical fertilizers might cause a full-blown food crisis and a subsequent economic crisis in a country where agriculture accounts for 24% of the economy and sustains more than 60% of the population. But the question still remains, what's the reason behind the shortage of fertilizers? Unsurprisingly, it is the Russian-Ukraine crisis. On account of the escalating war between these two countries, two primary energy sources, natural gas and coal, that are vital to manufacture fertilizers have increased to unprecedented levels. As a result, fertilizer prices have increased by up to triple digits and the supply of fertilizers have diminished, forcing large manufacturers like China to restrict exports to meet domestic demand. To give you an example of how expensive fertilizer prices have become, normally Nepal supplies 500,000 tons of chemical fertilizers annually by spending rupees 15 billion. As per the current market price, importing the same amount of fertilizer will now cost rupees 75 billion. Yes, you heard it right. Nepal will have to pay 5 times more just to import the regular amount of fertilizers in the country. Now to the next news. At a time when the Russian-Ukraine crisis has devastated the global edible oil industry, the largest exporter of palm oil, Indonesia, which exports about a third of the world's palm oil, has just imposed a sweeping ban on palm oil exports to protect its domestic market. Its implication? The imminent collapse of refined palm oil, the largest export industry of Nepal. As Nepal doesn't produce a single drop of palm oil, traders rely upon crude oil imports from countries such as Indonesia, refine it and re-export it to India. You may ask, why are we exporting something that we don't even produce? Well, it is because traders have found an ingenious idea to exploit the SAFTA provision. Find out all about it in our website. Anyways, the disruption in the supply of palm oil will not only affect around 24 factories in Birgunj and Biratnagar that have invested around rupees 50 billion in their refineries, but it will also greatly affect FMCG industries that produce biscuits, instant noodles, soups, etc., where palm oil is a vital input with an annual consumption of 250,000 tons. Therefore, as palm oil is a crucial input for most food products, you can expect food inflation to rise further in the upcoming days. But why did Indonesia, a country that only consumes just over a third of its palm oil production, resort to a complete export ban? Won't it hurt the export earnings of the country, considering palm oil is its major export? Will the dearth in the supply of sunflower oil due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine send demand as well as the price for its substitute product, that is palm oil, to a record high? In April 2020, a ton of Indonesian crude palm oil was fetching around $545 on the European market. 2 years later, that jumped to $1,700. Accelerated by the high price, traders started exporting palm oil in large volumes, even if it meant they had to divert supply away from the domestic market where profit margins are lower. The ensuing shortage of palm oil in the domestic industry had thus caused its price to surge, and anti-competitive practices such as black marketing and hoarding had started rising in the country. Therefore, after exhausting every other option to bring down prices and ensure adequate supply in the domestic market, the Indonesian government had no choice but to completely ban palm oil exports. Yes, even if it meant export earnings of the country would take a hit. At a time when the cost of living for Nepalese has skyrocketed due to rising fuel prices that have reached record high, the World Bank has recommended the government remove fuel subsidies and also increase taxes on fuel in its report entitled Reshaping Norms: A New Way Forward. Considering that the rising fuel prices have been one of the reasons for heightened tensions between citizens and the government, the implementation of such a policy will definitely mean the government has to step hard on some toes, but not without good reason. High and volatile fuel prices took the fuel import bill of the Himalayan Republic to an all-time high of Rs 257 billion in the third quarter of the current fiscal year. As fuel is not only the largest import of the country but also a necessary input for commodities across the board and a vital component of logistics for the heavily import-dependent nation, rising fuel prices have therefore widened the overall import bill of the nation and subsequently the balance of payment also to new heights. As a result, foreign reserves to pay for imports of the country have depleted to concerning levels, forcing the government to increasingly resort to borderline draconian measures to tighten its grip on the reserves. Apart from exposing the country's balance of payment vulnerability, the dependence on fossil fuels has also exposed the fiscal vulnerability of the government that heavily subsidizes fuel products such as petrol to make it readily affordable to citizens. A cost breakdown shows that the actual cost of petrol is Rs 178.16 per litre when it reaches Kathmandu, but the state-owned monopoly sells it at the retail price of Rs 160 per litre, incurring a loss of Rs 18 on every litre sold. Moreover, air pollution is one of the key negative side effects of the burning of fossil fuels in Nepal. It has not only undermined the health of the citizens but also that of the nation by contributing to climate change. Therefore, if the recommendation of the World Bank to remove fuel subsidies and increase tax on fuel is implemented, it will definitely remove substantial pressure from the balance of payment of the country, preserving the depleting foreign reserves and also improving the health of the citizens as well as of the nation. Moreover, the reduction in subsidies and increase in fuel taxes will also improve the fiscal situation of the government that is constantly running a deficit. Having said that, considering how hooked up to fuel we are at the moment, it would be foolish of the government to just flip the switch to renewable energy. It should instead adopt a transition plan and ensure that electricity from renewable energy sources along with infrastructure surrounding it are not only available but also readily affordable. Now moving on to the final news. Last week, contractors under the Federation of Contractors Association of Nepal (FCAN) had launched a construction holiday, halting the works of all development projects unless the government adjusted the prices of construction materials in their contracts in alignment with the current skyrocketing prices of construction materials. That's it for now. Did you find our economic highlights and analysis insightful? If you did, then please like and share it with your friends and all other economic lovers out there.